From sunrise to sunset, Lugano keeps changing, but the lake and mountains remain its constant,
From the shore, boats quietly cross Lake Lugano, connecting the beautiful towns and giving visitors another unforgettable way to.
On the water, Lugano slowly reveals itself, one shoreline, one mountain, and one reflection at a time.
On the water, the mountains seem to move around you, revealing Lugano slowly as the morning light.
When the sun reaches the mountains, Lugano seems to pause for a moment, and the lake becomes a mirror of the evening sky.
As the afternoon light changes, even the familiar waterfront becomes something new, warmer, calmer, and almost impossibly beautiful.
There is no better way to begin the morning, surrounded by quiet water and mountains. As the cabin climbs, the familiar city becomes smaller, while the lake and mountains slowly take over the entire view. With every meter of elevation, Lugano changes. The lake widens, the city shrinks, and the mountains take over the horizon. Become part of the scenery here. Flowers, boats, mountains, and reflections coming together beside the lake.
Seen from the water, Lugano feels almost cinematic, a city resting peacefully between a brilliant lake and towering alpine mountains.
And then the mountains begin to take over the view. Rising above Lugano, Monte San Salvatore creates.
This is Lugano, where every direction brings another beautiful view, and where the lake and mountains seem to belong.
Around Lugano, even the road becomes part of the journey, with mountain curves opening again and again to
Above the city, the roads become viewpoints themselves, with every bend revealing another piece of Lugano's extraordinary landscape.
By late afternoon, the promenade becomes one of the most beautiful places to simply walk, talk, and watch the light across the. The lakeside is not only beautiful to look at, it is made for movement, whether you are walking slowly.
The waterfront is made for slow exploration. A bicycle, a little sunshine, and the lake beside you. The waterfront is made for slow exploration. A bicycle, a little sunshine.
Morning belongs to the waterfront. When the city is quiet, the lake is calm, and the mountains catch.
Morning returns to the waterfront, and Lugano begins moving again a popse, slowly, naturally, beside the lake.
Above the rooftops, lunch becomes a moment to pause, with the lake stretching all the way toward the mountains.
As the sun falls, the lake turns an ordinary dinner into a moving view of Lugano and the mountains.
Here, dinner is more than a meal. The lake, the mountains, and the fading sunlight become part of the table. With a view like this, even a simple lunch becomes part of the journey. The lake always somewhere in the background.
From above, the full picture comes together. Lugano is beautifully shaped by its lake, its mountains, and as the sun disappears behind the mountains, the lake carries the final light across Lugano, turning an ordinary crossing.
Long before the waterfront becomes busy, the lake already has its own quiet rhythm.
Above Lugano, even the journey becomes an attraction, with the lake appearing between the trees
As evening settles in, the lake becomes part of the table, furbus, a quiet backdrop to a meal surrounded by mountains.
Around Lugano's smaller harbors, the lake feels close and personal, a place where everyday life. Beyond the famous views, the hills around Lugano hide quieter places where the landscape feels.
The most rewarding views often arrive without warning, hidden behind trees until the trail suddenly opens onto the lake.
The higher you climb, the more the landscape opens, until the lake, city, and mountains feel like one enormous panorama. From the summit, the scale of Lugano becomes clear. The lake stretches between mountains, while at the end of the trail, the reward is not a destination but a horizon. Mountains layered behind the lake as the last light disappears. Higher trails offer a final gift, the chance to watch the entire valley change color as another alpine day slowly moves toward evening. Away from the lake, the mountains reveal another side of Lugano, quiet. quiet trails, cool water.
Just beyond the city, the landscape invites you higher, where every few steps reveal a wider view of Lugano and its surrounding mountains.
For a different perspective, the mountains offer trails bring another view of the lake below.
High above Lugano, Monte Bre offers a completely different perspective. The lake, the city, and the mountains all
For those who want to experience the lake rather than simply admire it, even a quiet paddle reveals Lugano from a completely different angle.
Out on the lake, the noise of the city disappears, leaving only the rhythm of the paddle and the mountains around you.
Early on the lake, Lugano feels almost untouched, just quiet water, fresh mountain air, and the first light of another day. Lugano is the kind of place that does not need to rush to impress you. You simply walk, look around.
Morning in Lugano brings the streets to life, while just beyond the market, the lake remains calm beneath the mountains.
Above the lake, village life moves at a slower rhythm, simple, local, and surrounded by extraordinary views.
And when a new morning begins, Lugano feels just as inviting, peaceful, fresh, and ready to be explored all over again.
And as another morning begins, Lugano feels exactly as it should, peaceful, beautiful, and completely connected to.
With the sun dropping lower, the lake becomes more dramatic. Every movement leaves a trail of. And above it all, the final light settles across the Alps, leaving Lugano exactly where. From above, the landscape becomes almost impossibly clear. The lake below, the mountains around it, and for moments like this, it is easy to understand why Lugano leaves such a lasting impression. The lake, As the afternoon fades, the lake catches the last warm light, turning an ordinary boat ride into something unforgettable.
From the water, Lugano looks completely different. The city becomes a narrow ribbon of color between the lake and the mountains.
From the boat, Lugano feels wonderfully open. The city becomes a shoreline and the mountains become the horizon.
By midday, Lugano feels full of color and movement, yet the lake keeps the atmosphere relaxed and open.
After the rain, even familiar streets feel different. Cleaner, brighter, and quietly connected to the lake below.
Even a brief summer shower gives Lugano another character. The old streets shine, the air feels fresh, and the lake waits just beyond. Even a brief summer shower gives Lugano another character. The old streets shine, the air feels fresh, and the lake waits just beyond.
Away from the water, Lugano's mornings begin slowly in its historic squares, where everyday life blends naturally.
And down in the village, life continues quietly, beneath the same mountains that make this valley unforgettable.
From above, Lugano leaves you with a simple impression. A beautiful alpine city where the lake, mountain.
The waterfront belongs to everyone in the morning, a place to move, breathe,
and let the lake set the pace.
After sunset, the waterfront takes on a completely different mood, peaceful and elegant as the lights of Lugano dance.
From above, the final light brings everything together, the lake, the city, and the mountains becoming.
Some of Lugano's most memorable moments are found away from the crowds, on quiet paths. When evening settles in, the promenade becomes a place to wander without a plan, with the lights of Lugano quietly following you along the water.
Beyond the city, the smaller hillside villages reveal another side of the region. Quieter streets, old houses, and extraordinary views.
Just above the city, the pace changes completely. Old stone lanes lead to views that.
At the quietest hour, the lake becomes almost perfectly still, turning every mountain and shoreline into a natural reflection.
Even the evening invites movement here. The waterfront turns into a beautiful path between the city and the lake.
With only the wind moving the sail, the lake becomes wonderfully simple, a quiet crossing between mountains at the end of the day.
Before the city wakes, Lake Lugano is at its most peaceful. Mountains, water, and morning light. As the morning grows brighter, the old streets begin to wake, slowly, naturally, and with the unmistakable warmth. Lugano begins another day quietly, with the lake catching the first light, before the streets fully awaken.
And then the night gives way to another morning, proving that in Lugano, the same lake can feel completely different with every new light.
From the mountains, the first light transforms the entire lake terrace, turning yesterday's familiar view into something completely new.
As another day ends, the lake holds the last light for a moment, and Lugano becomes a memory made of.
On a warm summer day, the lake is not only something to admire, it becomes part of the experience.
The climb is part of the adventure. Each turn takes you higher, until the lake opens beneath the mountains.
Vienna's. Just above the city, the journey changes completely. A short ride takes you higher, where Lugano opens up beneath.
The best way to experience Lugano is simply to slow down and follow the lakeside promenade, surrounded by.
Morning on Lake Lugano begins quietly, with boats waiting along the shore and another beautiful day unfolding between the water and the mountains.
And as the sun begins to disappear behind the mountains, Lugano reveals one final gift, a lake.
Even the journey upward becomes part of the experience, because around Lugano, every climb seems to end with another.
From the waterfront, even a simple boat departure becomes part of the Lugano experience, carrying you toward another beautiful view of the city.
A perfect morning in Lugano can be wonderfully simple. Good coffee, fresh air, and a lake stretching toward the mountains.
This is Lugano at its most inviting. Chess, elegant cafes, warm summer light, and the lake just a few steps away.
Along the waterfront, charming cafes invite visitors to pause, enjoy a local meal, and simply take in the peace.
When evening arrives, Lugano becomes even more atmospheric, as warm city lights begin to shimmer across the lake.
A quiet sense that you have discovered truly special. Where
the character of Lugano is written into its waterfront. Old stone, colorful facades, flowers. The character of Lugano is written into its waterfront. Old stone, colorful facades, flowers, and the lake always moving quietly beside them.
Lugano does not need grandine gestures to be unforgettable. Sometimes all you need is a lake.
Lugano's beauty is not only in its mountains. Look closer, and even the buildings beside the lake carry the warmth of southern Switzerland.
Along the waterfront, even the smallest details add color to Lugano. Flowers, palms, old buildings.
Sometimes the most beautiful discoveries happen between the main attractions. A quiet staircase, an old stone wall, and suddenly the lake appears in front of you.
Away from the lake, Lugano becomes quieter and more intimate, with narrow streets, warm-colored buildings, and little corners that feel distinctly Italian.
Beyond the lake, the old town becomes quieter, its historic streets glowing beneath warm evening lights. By rail, the landscape changes every few minutes, forest, mountain appearing together in one continuous journey.
This is Lugano at its best, a warm lakeside city framed naturally by mountains.
The smallest streets often lead to the biggest views, old village walls suddenly opening onto the entire lake.
From high above the lake, the whole journey comes together. Lugano, the mountains, and the water, forming one
Some places are remembered for what you see. Lugano is remembered for how it makes you feel. Peaceful.
At night, the crowds disappear and the lake becomes almost silent pace, leaving a different, more intimate side of Lugano.
And as another day comes to an end, Lugano leaves the simplest impression: a beautiful lake, quiet mountains, and
Lugano keeps surprising you at street level. An old alley can suddenly open into one of the region's most beautiful views.
From above, a new day begins beautifully. Sunlight touching the mountains while Lugano slowly wakes beside the lake.
a short climb above Lugano opens an entirely different view. The lake below, the mountains ahead, and a city.
The journey ends above the city, where the first morning light turns the lake and mountains into one enormous landscape.
High above the lake, breakfast comes with a view that needs no decoration. Mountains, water.
After the rain, the lake feels even clearer, and every reflection seems sharper beneath the fresh mountain air.
From a hillside terrace, the city feels wonderfully distant, leaving only the lake, the mountain.
There is no better way to begin the day than with Lugano opening quietly below you.
Standing at the edge of the lake, everything feels quieter. Just water in front of you and mountains.
Away from the busiest paths, Lugano also hides peaceful green corners, where the city seems to disappear.
From above the rooftops, the evening arrives slowly, with Lugano spreading out between the warm light and the blue lake.
At the top, Lugano reveals its full scale, a city wrapped around a lake and surrounded on every side by mountains. From the mountains, the final light reveals just how beautifully Lugano is shaped, a ribbon of city wrapped around a lake beneath the Alps.
There is also a simple pleasure to Lugano, walking beside the lake with a cool gelato, surrounded by sunshine, flowers, and
Some of Lugano's most beautiful moments are hidden away from the busy waterfront, behind gardens where the lake quietly waits beyond.
Before the city fully awakens, the lake keeps the morning quiet, mist, mountains, and the first touch of sunlight.
Walking a little farther onto the water changes the view to a completely divergent.
Every corner of Lugano feels designed for a slow and peaceful walk, with the lake and mountains constantly creating a beautiful backdrop.
Just a few steps away from the lake, Lugano's old streets create little surprises.
Above the main streets, small hillside lanes reveal another side of Lugano. Quiet homes, old stone walls, and
in Lugano, the old streets and the lake are never far apart. One turn can take you from local life straight in.
When night arrives, Lugano changes again. Warm lights appear along the shore, and the lake quietly mirrors the city.
above Lugano, the landscape becomes quieter again, where vineyards and mountain slopes overlook the same lake.
As evening arrives, Lugano becomes social and warm. Music, conversation. From the mountains at night, Lugano becomes a constellation around the lake. Small, peaceful.
And beneath the quiet night sky, the journey comes full circle. Lugano remains where it has always been. After dark, Lugano becomes quieter, warmer, and even more reflective, the lights of the city stretching gently across the lake.
From above, Lugano becomes a constellation around the lake. A quiet city, framed by mountains.
When the day finally becomes quiet, Lugano leaves behind a simple lights on the water, mountains in the darkness, and At sunrise, the lake becomes almost silent, and even a simple paddle feels like a journey through the mountains.
At golden hour, the lake becomes an activity as much as a view. Before the city wakes, the lake holds a quiet world of its own, slowly revealing the mountains as the morning mist disappears.
For a few quiet minutes between sunset and night, Lugano seems to hold both worlds at once. Fading.
From the lake at night, Lugano feels almost timeless. A quiet shoreline of warm lights surrounded by dark mountains.
Even the lake seems slow down at night, as boats glide quietly through the reflections of the city.
After dark, the lake becomes a mirror for Lugano's lights, turning the familiar waterfront into something completely new.
At night, Lugano asks for nothing more than a slow walk. The lights, the lake, and
As evening arrives, Lugano slows down. Bori. Good food, warm light, and the lake quietly stretching toward the mountains.
When the day slows down, the lake becomes part of dinner, quietly reflecting the lights of the city across the water.
But perhaps the most beautiful moments are the quiet ones, when there is nothing to do except sit.
And when the lights return to the waterfront, Lugano leaves you with the same feeling it began with, calm.
When the daylight fades, Lugano changes without losing its character. warm lights along the lake, dark mountains beyond, and the...
When everything finally becomes quiet, the lake keeps the lights of Lugano for one last moment furches, before the night takes over.
Under the moonlight, the lake becomes quiet again Canalian, and Lugano settles naturally into the silence of the mountains.
Above the lights, the mountains remain still, reminding you that Lugano's beauty